This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz. So excited to be speaking with Kaitlyn Dever about The Last of Us and apple cider vinegar. How are you, Caitlin?
I'm doing well, Abe. How are you doing?
Good. These are both such meaty parts that I'm sure were so interesting, but also I feel like they're characters you knew that people probably weren't going to like very much. And I'm curious how that impacts your decision to take a role.
Um, it's really funny to think about like how close together these two kind of came out into the world. I didn't mean for that to happen. That was not calculated in any way. It just sort of happened. Um, but I certainly, I mean, they're unlikable for very different reasons. Um, and or at least I definitely did think about that before taking on both of them, but it was never going to stop me from playing. I mean, I was obviously, I know the controversy around Abby's character, and it's a big topic of conversation online. I'm certainly very aware of that. And that was never gonna, I wasn't, for some reason, I just wasn't afraid of any of that. It was, yeah, never gonna stop me from playing her and taking on the role. And the same thing with Belle, but a bit different with Belle in that I felt like I had to be a part of this. Like it was I felt like a deeper calling or something to do this role for many reasons, just because I have such a, the world of cancer hits so close to home. And when I first read these scripts for apple cider, I was shocked. I didn't know. I was learning about Belle Gibson for the very first time when I was reading these scripts, and just how mind-blowing it is and how infuriating the story is. It's that I think that fury and how upset I was at this story kind of fueled my need and desire to actually do it and give it my 100% energy. So, but yeah, both of them were definitely, yeah, daunting because they are intense in their own way. Um, but I do tend to like the more intense stuff. I do. I actually I think I seek that out. I think I look for that in my job. Um, yeah.
I feel like Abby is very cold and also very direct, but doesn't say that much, like sort of speaks only when she needs to. Whereas Belle, it feels like, is trying to fill the air in any room
Yeah,
that she's
speaks too much.
in.
She's got to stop talking.
But it's just so magnetic, and especially after watching something like Inventing Anna, which also is such a different story too, because I feel like she is still loud in certain ways, but there's just something about Belle that she's just almost calling unnecessary attention to herself. Like she probably could have gotten away with more if she didn't try so hard to be liked and other things. And I wonder what kind of sympathy, if any, you've developed for her in the process of playing her.
Yeah, I think I had to develop or find some sort of empathy because I would have been doing a disservice to the character if I would have just seeing her as this deceitful, evil person. And I think in diving deeper into her childhood and the things that she really craved in life, I think I through diving deeper into that, I learned that she really, or I kind of just realized that she to me seemed like someone who just wanted to be loved and accepted and really craved community. And it was just something that she didn't have in her childhood. And she was, I think, her the relationship with her mother was quite difficult and challenging. And yeah, I think that she wanted to, I think she just would have done anything to get that. I think that's ultimately where it comes from because there was a lot of, there isn't, I think I discussed this with Sam Strauss and that we won't ever really, when we were kind of developing our version of Belle sort of came to the conclusion that we won't ever really know who the real Belle is anyway. Even if I was trying to do a direct carbon copy of Belle Gibson, still there's a few things online of her, and we definitely know what her Instagram looked like and early Facebook posts and stuff like that. But like even that may or may not have been real. We'll never know. But I think you know, diving deep into that stuff, even like the early Facebook posts, she was a part of like she was a bit more goth and like it had a like was a part of like a skater group, and then stuff we see in our show, which is starting off with like the mothers group and dressing a certain way, and then when she gets a little bit more money, she dyes her hair, and she was always molding herself to fit certain societal like groups or a certain status. And um, I think that again just speaks to her crave for that that community that she never had as a child. And so that was one way I empathized with her. And then I guess the other way was that I think she really did want to be a good mom too. I think that that was one thing that Sam really wanted to highlight and make sure of, or that make sure that that was shown. Oh, I'm so sorry. But just that she really wanted to be a she really wanted to protect her son and give her son the life that she didn't have and the love that she didn't have. I do believe that too. So that is where I found moments of empathy.
I also feel like we have a lot of actors who try, Australian or British actors who put on a good American accent. We don't see it as much the other way. And while I'm sure that was intimidating, I know that Alicia was impressed. I spoke with her and she was very impressed. Do you feel like that was a particular challenge? And is there any advice you have for other actors seeking to be less American in their accents on screen?
Oh gosh. Well, I was a nervous wreck. I was genuinely concerned for it was confusing because I was like, oh my God, this is so cool that they're asking me to do this when they haven't seen me do it before. And they're totally just like putting their coming at this with open arms saying, we want you to play this Australian lady. And I'm like, I've never how do you know that I can do it? Because I've never done it before. And I was just so shocked and excited. And I know how rare that is. Like you Google, I was literally Googling like Americans that have played Australian before. There's not a lot of them. And I think it's because the accent is just so difficult. And I was excited and then also scared. And so I was confused. I guess, yeah, I just like had to 3 months before we started shooting, I started working with an amazing dialect coach. Her name is Jenny Kent, and I really couldn't have done this job without her at all. She really held my hand throughout this whole show, and yeah, she was like my my lifeline. Like she really was so helpful in so many ways. But I think my advice would just to be would be to surround yourself with the accent as much as you can. So I was literally watching like Love Island Australia. Um, I was I it was helpful because I was surrounded by only Australians for the whole job. So it wasn't like it's one thing to be doing an accent or an Australian accent around other fellow American actors, but there were no other Americans on this job. So yet another reason why I was deeply terrified because they're hearing every little every little thing. Um, and I guess, yeah, not trying, you know, just settling in and trusting yourself and trusting the process. And I had to really at some point like trust that I had worked really hard to get
Thank
this
you.
accent down. Hello. Oh.
Oh,
um,
sorry.
um, but just I worked really hard and just like submerging myself into this accent. And I think what was helpful is just repetition and doing it over and over and over and over and over again. Um, Starting off small and then like working, not trying to get it all done in one go, like really working your way up to certain sounds, and eventually it's like almost like one day it just like clicked, like it just started to sit, it starts to just like sit in your, it does have to sit in your mouth and your throat a certain way, and it just started to happen naturally, and it's like literally just like working out, like lifting weights. It's just about muscle memory and um yeah, and I turned on Australian news in my apartment so that I was literally hearing it all the time, even when I got home from work. Um, Shouting the lines too really helps. um, it helps that like it really helped me like get it embedded into my bones and made it feel like it was really like I was really, I don't know, shouting it for some reason. It was something my dialect coach recommended. So I was shouting a lot in my apartment, in an Australian accent. So, um, yeah, but I was nervous. I was so nervous, but I felt like I really accomplished a lot when I was all finished and done with it.
I would say that The Last of Us presents an entirely different set of challenges, one of which is obviously living up to the people who love the video game, but more importantly, like absolute secrecy. That, not sending, like the fact that press didn't even get access to that second episode ahead of time, so they were the one to keep it. And you obviously theoretically know more about season three than any of the rest of us. Does that affect your working environment, just having to be so focused and then not being able to say anything about it for such a long time until we actually see it?
I mean, it definitely is new territory for me. I've never been a part of something this big before. And I think I've gotten a little bit better at answering questions and not answering questions about the show, but I was definitely nervous at first. I thought I was gonna, like, if it's gonna be anyone to leak something, it'll be me. I just can't, I'll do something to mess this up for sure. But uh yeah, it's kind of hard, but like also, so it makes it exciting. I think the like the mystery and the secrecy is kind of fun. It's kind of a cool new aspect of this job that I'm really kind of experiencing for the first time. So I'm loving it. I think it's really fun.
On the subject of, empathy again, have you found something to like about Abby?
You know, I do, she does, and I think that the game, players do know this. Like she does look out for her people, and I think that that is something that is admirable. And I think that she is just someone when and playing her, I obviously know she did this very, very, very horrible thing. But if you really start to look at some of these characters and you look at Abby specifically, she's not all that different from some of the other characters and people in the world of The Last of Us. So she is she's just been through so much and she's had to see so much, and I wanted that to like show up energetically for her, and just like that's her. I think that that's her armor. That really is what has made her who she is, and it has been her drive up until the moment we meet her. She's very, very calculated and has a very serious and thought out plan, and is sort of like consumed by this thing, for so long. And yeah, I think she's just, but she's at her core, she's someone who's like experiencing deep grief and feeling that, like, you know, approaching the character, I think I just used that anger and rage as her driving force. But she's a very strong woman, like emotionally too. I think she's really, really strong.
Before I let you go, I always like to ask people, what are you watching? What have you seen recently on TV that's really stuck with you? And The Last of Us is a common answer, but you can't say that one. I'm curious what you've seen that you're not in that you really like these days.
Oh, I'm obsessed with Nobody Wants This. I love it. I just started watching The Studio. I don't know if you've seen all the I haven't watched all the episodes yet. I'm only on episode 4, but I'm loving that. Um, and I guess and The White Lotus, the new season of The White Lotus. I love that one.
Great choices. Well, I'm excited to see, or nervous, or whatever I should be, to see more of Abby and what happens on The Last of Us. I'm really looking forward to whatever comes next for you. Thank you so much for your
Oh,
time.
thank you, Abe. It's so nice to talk to you.